This week on the podcast for new all-age comic books for the week of September 12th, 2018. Happy 25th birthday to one of the best storylines in comic book history. Mech Cadet Yu calls a swan song Venom in an all-age title. You heard me right. Venom, Plants vs. Zombies, and Henri's hats.
Hey, and welcome to Daddy Mojo. It's the podcast where we'll talk about parenting, all-age comic books, toys, and more. Now, here's your host, Trey Burley.
Thanks again for checking out the podcast this week. This is Trey with Daddy Mojo. Hope everyone's having a great week so far. Wednesday is New Comic Book Day. Every Wednesday, oodles of new comic books come to your local comic book store. Yes, they still exist. Where is my comic book store that's closest to me? I'll tell you. Just go to this website, Comic Book Store Locator. Do a little search for that, Comic Book Store Locator. Type in your zip code, and one is probably within 15 miles of you. These are old school comic book stores. The real deal. They've got those revolving racks or shelves on the wall or something like that, and they have a staff that will help you and your young reader find comic books or graphic novels that are appropriate for them. Because our comic book store here in Atlanta, there are two that we go to, and they both do a bang-up job for all-age readers. They really do. So check that out, Comic Book Store Locator. If you say to yourself, comic book stores don't exist anymore, they do. And they're pretty nice. And there's also a nice little online outlet, Knightfall. That's a great place to get some stuff also. Let's kick it off. This is a book. I know, after all that hype and punishment, we start things off with a book, but this is a great book. It's called Henri's Hats, or Henri's Hats. And this is a book from Disney Press, and it's a book it's a book from a Disney artist. I'll read you the imprint here in a second. It is from Pixar Animation Studios. It's part of the Artist Showcase Books, and inside the book it says, this series of original picture books puts the spotlight on the incredible artist of Pixar Animation Studios. The pages of each book showcases the personal work of one of these talented artists and introduces a brand new world of characters. And this book is fabulous. It retails for $17. Buy it online. You can probably get it for slightly cheaper. And it is just gorgeous. And it's got a great story. And this is what we call a great goodnight book. Because when you're reading a book to a child, it can be any child, say, any younger than 9. You know, you 9-year-old kids, you still don't need to be read to. But sometimes it's nice when mom or dad reads something to you. And that's cool because we like reading. We moms and dads who like reading. Henri's Hats is one of these great goodnight books because you can read it once and you can spell it out and look at all the art again and make details or tell stories within the story. And it's still a great book, but it's also short enough to where you can read it once if your child is really tired, and it will suffice. It's from Mike Wu, and the story of Henri's Hats is about a boy and his mother going to see his grandfather. They're on the train, and it's a real life story for a lot of people, in that the grandparent, you don't really know what they did back in the day. I mean, you don't know if they were cool, if they had wild adventures. You have no idea as a kid. You think you as a kid have adventures. Yeah, and I hear you on that. But Henri's Hats is all about Henri and his hats. And the kid who goes up to the attic, who finds a storage locker. And inside the storage locker are lots of hats. And each hat tells a story. And the kid is thinking, well, they're stories. Until the grandfather comes up and they go through the stories together. And you're like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to cry over a children's book. I'm not going to. And you're not going to cry, but it's just really sweet. And it's endearing and it's happy. It leaves you on a happy note. It says, you know what? Life is full of stories. And I don't know your story, so tell it to me, Grandpa. Why don't you? Tell me about that story of the picture on the wall with the sun, the sand dune, and the Muslim cleric in the back. Tell me about that. That's a picture I have over on my wall. So kids, when your kids are kids, ask me about that picture on the wall in 15 or 20 years. Maybe even 30 years. Don't be in a rush to have kids because they're expensive, even though we love you. That's Henri's Hats. Great book from Mike Wu. I guarantee you'll love it. It's from Disney Press. Spongebob Comics. This comic book, every issue, we mention it. It's fabulous. We mention every issue because it's great and because you need to appreciate things while they're here or they may disappear. This comic book is worth buying any month. It retails for $3.99. It's from United Plankton Pictures. Each issue is great for ages 5 and up. Yes, it skews that young. Why does it skew that young when the television show on Nickelodeon may not skew that young? Mainly because of the sass and the attitude, the oomph that is in the cartoon series. It doesn't translate to the print. It's great. It really is great. We pick up every issue of this, and you say to yourself, well, I could just buy a subscription and get it for about $3 an issue. You could, but we really like supporting our local comic book store, as we mentioned at the top of the show. SpongeBob Comics 84. It's out this week, and I think you will love it. Pick up any issue, but the new one, 84, is out this week. A book. A book? What's a book? I thought you were talking comic books. I didn't tune in here to find book advice, but this is a graphic novel. Hear me out. It's a graphic novel that middle school kids and high school kids, even some upper elementary school kids, will know and want to read this third chapter in it. It's the Nameless City trilogy from Faith Erin Hicks, and I have never read anything in this series. However, we go to our elementary school library about once a week. We see this in there when I'm lucky enough, because it always flies out. Boom, boom, boom. It's like they have little Sherpas. These elementary kids, they have Sherpa kids who check the library and find this book. This and all the manga, because it is never in there. The third book in the series, The Divided Earth, is out this week. Its sweet spot is really going to be middle school. However, some of you 5th graders, maybe even 4th graders who like to read and like action, you're going to be down with the Nameless trilogy, The Divided Earth. It's the third book in the series, and I believe it's from first, second book, is it? Yeah, it is. First, second, yeah. Again, it's got that stench of quality. All their books do. Perfect for kids 9 to 13, grades 4 and 8. Boom. Check it out. You already know this series. You've probably already pre-ordered it. Not when I was growing up. Let's go back in the time machine 25 years. Let's do that. That's a better way to phrase that. And this series, this is a great series, Batman. But I'm not too down with the current Batman. That's a separate podcast. Batman 25 years ago was a great series. And not because it's like, oh, back in my day, but just because it was a great comic book. It had action. It wasn't so old. It didn't try to skew old. It was just a good kind of pulpy comic book. And one of the best storylines that they had in Batman was this one, Knightfall. This was the seminal story where Bane, the muscle-bound freak who has muscles all over his leg and some kind of weird thing in his neck that gives him superpowers, where Bane defeats Batman. He breaks the bat. It's been 25 years since Knightfall came out. We've got all those in all the original issues in the closet that the kids will someday inherit if they promise to take them out of the bags nicely and don't bend the pages. Hear me, kids? Don't bend the pages. This graphic novel collects every issue from that series. It collects Batman 492 through 497, Detective Comics 659 through 663, as well as Batman Villains Secret Files #1 for the incredible low price of $19.99. Boom! This is a great example of great graphic novels getting cheaper with time. And if you buy it through some of the links, it's only $16. This is one of those graphic novels, those hardcover tradebacks, whatever you call them, whatever you would like to call them, that is going to really enhance your comic book or graphic novel library. And if you go back in the time machine, this storyline happened, I believe, just after they killed Superman in DC Comics. So I mean, you got to figure what the publishers were thinking. You said, well, you know what? It worked for Superman. Let's not kill Batman. Let's give him a great mortal opponent who does damage to him. And that's what this did. Beautiful series. The art in this is fabulous. And if you're an old school parent, you'll recognize the cover immediately by the dinosaur, Bane, and Batman all bent over. It's beautiful stuff. with a fabulous retail price. Hey, we're on Twitter. Did you know that? We are. It's at DaddyMojo, daddymojo.net on Twitter, and also Facebook, also Instagram. All over the place. We try to be. Hashtag anything you purchase for New Comic Book Day. Just hashtag DaddyMojo or hashtag NCBD so everybody can see what kind of new all-age comics you're buying, because you got to share the word. This is a comic book you should have been buying because it was great. And I hate to say was, because it's a bit of a posthumous... You had a good show. It was a great run. Mech Cadet Yu, we loved you. You were great. Every issue you came out, we espoused how awesome you were, and you still are awesome, even though you're printing your final single issue this week at Mech Cadet Yu number 12. Think of it as an all-age friendly kid in robot saga. What is not to love about that? It really is great. It's the kind of thing that was going to make a great series on Netflix. I hate to immediately ascribe this to Netflix, but it looks like a Netflix show. It is beautiful stuff. It's from Greg Pak and Takeshi Miyazawa. Beautiful stuff from Boom Studios. You can pick up the final issue this week, or pick up one of the earlier trade paperbacks. Let me see how much this is offhand. I believe it'll be probably $9. Yeah, there we are. Issues 1 through 4 for $12 if you buy it through some of the links. You will not regret it, because it's a great comic book. It really is. For ages 7 and up, if you're looking for a good science fiction romp, a good action romp, check that out. Mech Cadet Yu. You were great. And this is it's a great example of how the all-age comic book industry, how the all-age comic books are really great in miniseries, because you got to figure if you're an all-age comic book, your audience is growing faster than any other audience. So if you're a 9-year-old now and you're reading it when you're 10, it may not be cool because you don't find it as cool. The comic book is just as cool. It's a great comic book. But you've changed, and you want to maybe read, maybe I'll read Batman now, or Superman, or Spider-Man, or something my parents wouldn't let me. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. The comic books are still great. So when they do these mini-series runs, and I was initially skeptical because I'm like, they're just trying to cash out on, it's the first issue, let's buy it and make some money. They're not trying to cash in on that, per se. I mean, that could be an ancillary thought. But they really want to have these good, great mini-stories and say, boom, here's a great mini-story. Check it out for 4 issues. Check it out for 6 or 12 issues. And it's going to be a great friend to your kid, to your young reader, for the next year. It's not a forever date. It's just a 1-year commitment. Stick with us. And that's a great way to bite into comic books. Look at it that way. This comic book was like that. It went the way of the dodo, and they are printing out new original graphic novels probably 2 or 3 times a year. Plants vs. Zombies, Garden Warfare, Volume 2. This is from Paul Tobin, fabulous author in his own right. He still does Plants vs. Zombies. I don't know when this man sleeps. I don't know. But what Plants vs. Zombies, it used to be a monthly comic book, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. They stopped that and said, we're going to do graphic novels, which they have, and this one, it's just when you thought your neighborville was safe, the garden warfare is back on. Zombies have taken over and forced neighborhood defenders Nate, Patrice, and their fearless plants back on their heels. This is great all-age comic book stuff. It's a mandatory thing for any elementary school library, and even some of those middle school libraries. I read it. It's funny. Our 8-year-old loves it. The 6-year-old is learning to love it. And it's beautiful stuff for just under $10 at 88 pages of bright techno-color. You know how I talked about those miniseries that always succeed and it's bite-sized snippets or bite-sized Boom entertainment bits? Here's a new one from Boom Studios again. It's Welcome to Wanderland. This is going to appeal mainly to girls because it's got a bit of a fairy tale princess vibe, but just a little bit of a fairy tale princess vibe. It's not full-on pink pony princess. It's action princess. And that's a great thing to do because, we get so many books here. And so many of them now are just princess, princess, princess. And I just make a good book. Make it good for all kids. Sometimes that's hard. And I realize that sometimes you need some princess things, just the way you need some G.I. Joe things. You need things that are definitely going to hit their target. This one, Welcome to Wanderland, is from Jackie Ball. You'll recognize her artwork and her work through some of the stuff with Boom Studios. You look at the title, you look at the cover to this, and the artwork is very friendly to middle schoolers, even those upper middle school kids. If your kid is down with Goldie Vance, they are going to dig it. Even Lumberjanes. It's got that same vibe, except it's a little more kid-friendly. Welcome to Wanderland. Miniseries issue 1 of 4 out this week. Venom is not an all-age comic book, you say, and I agree with you. Wow, you can show me 50 Venom comic books, and maybe 47 of them are not going to be cool for kids. But this is one of them. This is one of them that's really cool for kids, partially because we're going back in the time machine. This is Venom Adventures Digest. Great things about this, in that it's only $10 retail. Buy it through the links, $8. It's an all-age story in that Spider-Man wears the Venom suit. Why? I don't know why. I forget the thrust of the story. Was it laundry day and your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man just picked up the wrong thing? I don't know. But Peter Parker picks up the wrong suit, wears Venom. The Venom symbiote becomes attracted to Peter Parker, and this is where the craziness starts to happen in an all-age comic book friendly way. It collects a handful of issues back from Marvel Comics in the 2000s. Marvel Adventures Spider-Man 2005, issues 21, 24, and 35. Marvel Universe Ultimate Spider-Man, number 16 and 19. And this is all-age Venom. You never get to say that. And with the Venom movie coming out soon, you know that's obviously why they're doing it. But Venom also has been in an all-age package before. My Phineas and Ferb fans, if you go back to the Phineas and Ferb multi-arc episode, or it may have even been a classic, when the Marvel superheroes teamed up with Phineas and Ferb to fight the villains of the MCU because of Dr. Doofenshmirtz and his latest invention, Venom was there. If you recall that. Venom was very funny. And at the time when I saw that episode of Phineas and Ferb, I was like, wow, Venom's in this. What? That's cool. That's awesome. Introducing kids to Venom. This does the same thing. It's Venom Adventures Digest, one of the best picks of the week, and this is Trey with Daddy Mojo.
Thanks for listening to Daddy Mojo. Be sure to tune in next time. For more information on any of the things we talked about today, just check out the website, daddymojo.net, or hit us up at Daddy Mojo on social media.